Technology multi-building.
Thank you. This is the March 23rd, 2021 meeting of the Hauppauge Union Free School District Board of Education. Before we do the pledge, just a correction on the agenda that I'll ask the clerk to make. Executive session did not take place today, so we're going straight to number 3 on the agenda, which is pledge to the flag. Please rise and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Number 4 on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. O'Hara.
Good evening, everyone. Just brief announcements for this evening. COVID-19 update. Our total is 243 cases, 243 positive confirmed cases since the beginning of the school year. A caution to everybody in the community, please do not begin to get lax or let your guard down. We are getting much closer to the end of the tunnel and beating this virus, but we are not there yet. So just please remain vigilant, stay strong until we are truly past this. Quick update for everybody regarding the junior prom. There was a question about that last 2 times we met. Junior prom is now scheduled for June 12th. It will be on campus at the high school under a tent, kind of like an outdoor wedding setup. 7 to 10:30 p.m. on Saturday, June 12th. Senior prom is scheduled for Wednesday, June 16th at the Watermill Inn. It is 2 groups of students, 150 per group max, so there basically be 2 proms going on simultaneously. And the students have to be tested upon entering the prom as per Watermill Inn's requirements. So that's where we are right now.
Is that limitation in number also Watermill's policy?
I believe it's the state.
Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously we're coming up to spring break. Our first day of no school is the 29th. And just a reminder to everybody following the spring break, we will be in classes in person, different than the previous 3 breaks. So we will be back in school as a normal schedule following the spring recess. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. O'Hara. Number 5 on the agenda, recognition and awards, presentations, and the adoption of minutes. 5C, we'll go to quickly, is the adoption of minutes from the budget business meeting of March 9th, 2021. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Fortmeyer. Mr. Screeder with the second. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. The minutes are approved. 5B is a presentation of the 21-22 school budget by Jackie Pirro, Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations, and Dr. Donald B. Murphy, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction and Technology.
Thank you.
Dr. Murphy, my understanding is Ms. Pirro is joining us remotely.
Yeah, just checking. Ms. Spiro, you're with us?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. So thanks to the board, our annual presentation on curriculum instruction and technology. We're going to do this as a concurrent presentation collaboratively with Jackie. I'll get us started here with the next slide. Jackie, take it away.
Yes. So thank you, everybody. This is our 3rd budget meeting this session, if you will. We have 1 more budget meeting scheduled in April. This is the 3rd one that we'll have on this budget year, I would say. So the budget as proposed is a 3.65% increase over the current year. The tax levy increase is a 1.34%, and we are in compliance with the tax levy cap. A little bit about enrollment. We know that our enrollment is dipping down. We've known that year over year in recent years. As you can see here, there's a bar graph showing that our K-12 enrollment is dipping down roughly 100 students for 21-22.
I'll take this. Sorry. I ventured away from the podium. Staffing updates, we reviewed this previously. We have 5 instructional retirements, although I believe there's a couple on tonight's agenda, so after those approvals, that number may tick up just a bit. We are fortunate to have some increases in different departments, with some returning teachers, some teachers on PEL that we're able to bring back. That's in FACS and health and phys ed, music, tech ed, STEAM business, and we also have a custodial increase. We also have a new position at the high school with special education with a math focus, and also an additional social worker. Focusing on our curriculum areas, we continue to be a teachers college partner district. This is our 6th year, grades K through 7. We've had a tremendous rollout and success with Amplify Science the last couple of years in K through 8. Some of the simulations I've seen in grades 2 through 8 have been tremendous with our handheld devices. Dr. Wankmuller has helped roll that out. We continue to expand our cohorts of teachers who are certified Wilson teachers, which is tremendous. And we have another group of teachers in the Wilson arena with Just Words. And our digital book platform list continues to expand. So with our handheld devices, we have many choices for our students with digital books. In the math side of things, I point out budgetarily, we have a partnership with Nassau BOCES where we were able to offer multivariable calculus to our students who have exhausted all of our math offerings. We plan on continuing that relationship next year. We also are expanding the number of students in 8th grade algebra. We're able to do that because of the addition of the math lab this year in grade 7. So again, thanks to the board for their support. Social studies, for many years we've been able to purchase our curriculum through the BOCES up in North Westchester. It's a cross contract. We'll continue that relationship. And I just have to point out, this year we had this tremendous investment and success at the high school with our life skills program, with the PAYS Lab. You may have seen some of the marketing or the sharing with pride on Twitter with the recent Hop Hog Hounds hashtag selling dog biscuits. We had so many families come by and purchase biscuits, faculty and staff, and it was a tremendous effort. Also continuing our school day ACT, PSAT, and SAT efforts, assuming that the world around us continues to get back to some sense of normalcy. We hope to bring back the college trips. If that's not possible, there's been different efforts through the guidance department, through Dr. Probst to have those virtual trips. And then we have the summer college application and essay support for students and parents. Our partnership with Eastern Suffolk BOCES continues to expand with the CTE program. These are students who attend sessions there for plumbing and heating, animal science, carpentry, culinary arts, automotive tech. And those offerings are open to students in grades 11 and 12. And we continue to find support within the budget for those students, which has been fantastic. Under the headline of STEAM, we are on target at some point, pending state approval, to have our STEAM lab in production at the high school. Always at the mercy of the state with their approval process, but we're fortunate in that the space we have designated allows us to work on that area with a low traffic situation, with outside access. So when that is said and done, we hope to have a few spaces that will serve as an incubator for our STEAM efforts. We also have a new course, Manufacturing Systems, on the docket to take advantage of the STEAM lab. It's a half-year course slated for the spring that would lead into another course the following year, Product Design and Engineering. Part of the STEAM vision is to have an R&D lab. So we have dollars that come from the bond for the majority of the STEAM lab effort, but there's also funds within my budget, the technology budget, for computers and 3D printers and such. Recently bragged on Twitter about our coding efforts. We had students in the middle school. Actually, we had a lot of good news at the middle school with the science efforts and our coding hackathon. So our team came in 4th at the Kid Oyo hackathon, 4th on the island, but 1st in Suffolk County. And that effort at the middle school and high school with coding starts at the elementary level. We're expanding our STEAM team, we call it, at the elementary level. That includes librarians and a few designated teachers to help to support that. And we're bringing our coding efforts down to all the way from kindergarten through grade 5. That then brings us through the middle school and high school with coding, and then up to AP computer science principles. So we talked a bit about this at our last meeting. Our focus on, I'm going to say, mental health and social emotional well-being has many strands. So I'm just going to point out a few budgetary considerations. We're expanding our FTE in health and phys ed. That's going to allow us to have a health focus down at the elementary level. One thing that districts are required to focus on is Erin's Law. Erin's Law, which is a 2019 law, was adopted by New York State. It focuses on abuse, students being able to talk about abuse and identify warning signs, and safety in relationships. There's grade band objectives. So we're looking at bringing that focus, and we're required to through the health department, through some integrated work with our phys ed teachers as well as a health teacher. Our MTSS work, multi-tier systems of support, threads through Branching Minds, which is a platform that allows us to capture the mechanics of MTSS. We have been rolling it out for the last few years. It's now a K through 12 effort, and we continue to build upon that participation with all our teachers. We also have district partners with our SEL work. A few years back, we partnered with SIY, which is an arm of Google, Search Inside Yourself, that focuses on mindfulness and neuroplasticity, neuroscience, I should say, and emotional intelligence. Tremendous effort with that work. We'll continue to partner with them, and also an offshoot of them, EI Collaborative. James Gallagher has done a lot of work in our district. And then this year, I just want to give credit to our SEL committees, Dr. Probst, Karen Karpowitz, Joy Ferrara, Joel Sidwell. We have 4 co-chairs. They operate under the curriculum committee that Gary and I chair. And we've done a soft launch of Choose Love, which talks about gratitude and courage. And we've had just some tremendous efforts at the elementary level in particular, and we'll continue to grow that work next year. On the IT side of things, my budget, the tech budget, always has, thankfully the board has supported that budget, and we'll continue to expand upon the efforts there. Kind of like a hidden story this year is that the foundation of our network was viable and was able to support all of the different technologies this year, both for students at home and on site. Our bandwidth, we expanded, we doubled it this year. So we'll continue to look to expand our wireless infrastructure. One legal consideration is EDLA 2D, which speaks to PII, personally identifiable information. So every platform we adopt, we put through that lens. We have different monitoring tools for our network. We look for redundancy. So if one of our providers goes down, another one kicks in. We look at redundancy in the way that we store data as well. That's the move to the cloud. That's why we went from Outlook to Gmail. So in the event that our email went down, for the most part, Google's up 99.9% of the time. Our security work, our cameras at the high school, I won't get too in-depth there, but we've had tremendous success with a rollout. We're going to expand upon that at the other buildings. We may be able to even launch at the middle school that effort soon. I talked about NFHS, which will allow us to stream games on the football field and the high school gym. That's underway, and we'll look to expand upon that effort next year. High School Music Lab will get new Macs, keyboards, other equipment. And then with Pride, we're a district that can say that every one of our students and staff members will have a device K through 12. And now I turn it back over to you, Jackie.
Yeah, so with the health and safety capital projects, these are the items that are in the 21-22 operating budget. As Dr. Murphy mentioned, there are other areas of funding for bonds and such like the SEAM Lab. These items are in this budget, and in the budget contains abating some additional floor replacements at the high school. If you've been there recently, you've seen we've gotten rid of many, many old floors. We still have a handful, big handful to do. We're looking to get rid of and replace as many as we can. The middle school cafeteria air conditioning, which is a big deal. Technology classroom updates with casework, floor, and lighting. The elementary schools, we're looking to replace the add new front awnings, if you will, like we have at the middle school, the high school. So each elementary school will have one as well. Bretton Woods, we're looking to redo and restore, replace the handball court and rear sidewalks, as well as LED lighting upgrades for the Pines and Bretton Woods in the hallways. Also some additional flooring abatements at the Pines Elementary School. So lots of numbers. It's a little bit repetitive from the last time that we met here, but this shows you those drivers of the budget for 21-22 and where we typically spend the bulk of our dollars. We know that it's in people, it's in salaries and related benefits. This kind of shows you percentage-wise where we spend the bulk of our dollars. If you look at the bottom where it says other, that's the stuff that we speak of, supplies, materials, athletics, that's the fun stuff. So the majority of our budget are pretty controlled of where we spend our dollars. The pie chart is showing the same thing. Obviously 56% or so is FICA, taxes and related salaries, and you go around to see the percentages of where the budget is allocated. I wanted to bring a little attention to the ERS and TRS systems. As we know, we expect the rates to kind of dip up in the coming years as they did in 2013, 14, 15. So just to show you, illustrate for you that the two systems are similar. They run kind of in the same pattern, and we do expect it to start to dip up in the next few years. And again, this is the cost of pension, ERS, and TRS. This is such a large cost of our budget each year, which is why I kind of want to bring it out to your attention, and we do expect it to kind of increase as we know. But just so you know, it's a large part of our budget each year, and we don't really have control over how much of that, the contribution rate that we pay, but we expect it to increase. So how do we actually fund the budget or spending plan for 21-22? These 6 categories, as I shared here 2 weeks ago, levy, state aid, pilots, fund balance, revenue and reserves, are how we how we pay for the actual spending plan. The bulk for us is obviously tax levy, and about 14% is state aid. To see the same information in a pie chart here, tax levy is 75%. State aid is the next largest chunk, followed by pilots. We get roughly $7 million in pilots. So a lot of numbers here. The top chart shows you the revenues that I had explained in the prior slide, the 6 categories and dollar amounts from the current year we're in to next year projected 21-22. This is a projection, as we have not yet received the next state aid run, which we can anticipate in the next week to 10 days or so. Also, we need to get some updated figures on our pilot numbers that we have here. And we're hoping to tweak this for our next meeting on the 13th of April. As I mentioned earlier, this is our third budget workshop in a series of 4. We'll meet here again on April 13th, the adoption of the budget and the property tax report card. If there are any changes on the revenue side and/or the expense side of the budget, there are a few things that have come to our attention that may have taken place in people, personnel services and such. We may have to adjust some of the budget lines, in which I'll provide you all with a trace document as we've done in the past. Any budget items that go up or down, we'll talk about on the 13th if it's necessary. Budget vote day is May 18th here in Whipplewell, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And all of our presentations and information can be found on our website. And are there any questions?
Any questions from the board concerning the presentation? Mr. Scrito?
Thank you, Dr. Murphy and Mrs. Pirro. I guess Mrs. Pirro or even Dr. Murphy, if you know the answer, the community's been reading once again the newspaper that, we're supposed to be getting billions of dollars in New York State for the schools. Have we heard any word on this, other than, what's happening with the governor himself?
Officially, no. What I can tell you is that I've already scheduled for an update on state aid for April 8th, which means they expect the updated run to come out on time. But my next information date is April 8th, is when I'm hoping to get more information.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the board concerning the presentation? Mr. Kiley?
Can you refresh my memory of the Smart Bond Act? Where are we with that? Is that included with any of this, or?
So, the Smart Bond Act, we finally heard back, got approval, and we went through an installation this year of north of 100 boards. So we are pretty much complete K through 8 with a few pockets in the middle school, but we're pretty, we're good there. We've then been doing concurrently installations of smart boards and audio enhancement units at the high school through general fund. So we have, the money that's left in the smart bond is between $300,000 and $400,000. That's allocated, the thought there is for security efforts that are gonna come as we're making our way through the camera upgrades. So things,
Dr. Murphy?
I won't get into
Yeah,
details.
no details concerning security upgrades. Actually, I have a question on that as well. Let's cut the feed for a minute, please. All right, so we just went offline due to our general policy not to discuss specific security issues or shortcomings as our meetings are broadcast on the internet. There was a specific question which Dr. Murphy answered. I ask you to move on, please.
Yeah, I would just add that with the first smart school bond plan, so this would be plan 2, we've learned that it just takes some time for the state to receive. What would happen is I do a presentation here, you guys would have to approve it, we'd send it up to the state, and then we wait for their approval.
Okay. And that was years ago, wasn't it? The original Smart Bond, it had to be
Yeah.
5, 6 years ago?
It took about 18 months for approval. Funny thing is, we were one of the lucky ones. Some plans got kicked back for a minor issue, and then it like restarted their submission cycle in some districts.
Right.
We got approved before districts that had submitted even before us. It's crazy.
All right, any further questions from the board concerning the presentation thus far? Ms. Formeyer?
Dr. Murphy, the equipment that you've designated for the STEAM lab, is any of that in partnership with local industry?
Yeah, so we went to visit a company, Techno CNC Systems. Fantastic. It was a father-son operation. They're on state contract. They actually came on their own time and even looked at our space and helped us think through the CNC machines, which I know you're familiar with. So yeah, we're looking at local partners, also, connections with Stony Brook and Brookhaven, and those are the things that are underway in concert with this.
Excellent, thank you.
Further questions from the board concerning the budget presentation? Questions from the community concerning the budget presentation? Mr. Abruzzo?
It's for Mrs. Piero. Can you remind us again, the $5 million we saved last year, where it went to, what areas?
Sure. The savings last year we put into reserve for future use for its pension system and employee benefits.
Are those the ones, those two charts, or the one chart that you showed us with the two lines of the dip up? Is that?
That's correct.
Okay. Any further questions from anyone in the community concerning the budget presentation thus far? I don't think so. But we'll handle them at the end. I don't think we're able to, yeah. Okay, the question was whether we had any questions. Question from Mr. Scarito was whether there were any questions submitted online concerning the budget. Dr. Murphy's usually the one that, well, I'm being told no anyway. If there are, we'll answer them at the end.
Just a clarification.
I was able to see that there's nothing there for budget.
Okay, great.
Just a clarification, if I'm correct, Don, maybe just double check me on this, but Choose Love is a good program related to the SEL work, but I think there's no cost for that, right?
There's no cost for their free resources, but there are workshops and PD that we may pay them for to help our teachers get up to speed, so that's why I mentioned it.
Thank you. Any further questions concerning the budget presentation? Thank you, Dr. Murphy and Ms. Piero. And we will move on.
Thank you.
Questions or comments on tonight's agenda only? Are there any, Mr. Bruzzo, sorry.
Yeah, I just had a concern with 7.1A,
7.1A,
the special education plan.
yes.
That in whole is being agreed upon and voted on tonight to approval?
Yes.
Yes, right?
Correct.
I just have a concern with the declassification part of that agreement.
Specifically, what's the
Not so
concern
much
we
the
can have to address?
process, what's my concern is, it's not so much the process of it, is if a student has special needs and we can't offer anything for that disability, because that's why they're in there, it's partial disability, can they be declassified then? Because
Dr. Murphy, do you want to answer
I
that?
have a strong feeling that they could lead that path where if it's not offered in the district, because again, possibly that we can't cover everyone, because
Sure.
hundreds of them, they're laid down to declassification.
So, just for context, the plan for tonight is something we do every 2 years, required by the state. It reflects updated regulations and laws, and it speaks to procedures for CSEs and development of IEPs and such. To your particular question, if the CSE determines that a student needs a particular service, we're required to provide. If we can't provide it, then that's where we will look elsewhere. And so we don't declassify just because we can't provide something. But I wanted to be respectful of, if there's a particular question that we can talk, I don't know if it's a personal question, so I just wanted to talk to you another time to help you.
Just in general, I know it's a standard 2-year plan that you have to agree on, but they, or whoever handles declassification will follow that plan, though. They can follow that plan.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not
Because
a,
you're approving it tonight.
but to answer your question, that's not a path to declassifying students or removing services. It's not.
This plan is almost a framework of the legal requirements that we must adhere to within the state. And as you can imagine, those continue to evolve. There's new regs that come out, and so districts are required to then update accordingly. But I'm also thinking I can circle back with you and Mrs. Bilski to dive deeper into that
Mr.
question.
Brusno, was there a certain point or part of the plan that you could point?
No, that was the section. That was, this.
No, that's what I'm asking. What section are you specifically referring to?
I read it, I don't know exactly, it definitely, if you read on the contents, you can scan right down, Mr. Varshay, that it says declassification.
Okay. Gene,
And I believe it is follow, once you approve it, you follow that plan. It's, how do you not following, there's a procedure in place for you to follow, as far as notifications go, responses, how many things.
Yeah, we would follow the plan, but the plan is not a loophole to declassify students. Students get declassified based on their progress.
And regardless of the plan, we have to follow federal and state law.
Right.
And declassification cannot be done simply because you can't provide the service
Right.
in your district. You either have to look elsewhere, maybe some distance away, it's a unique situation.
Mr. Brusno, was it your understanding that a specific part of this plan included that direction, that we should declassify if we don't have the service?
That's how I took it, and even if it doesn't cover that, that's the plan they follow. But again, lawyer clarified it.
Got it.
There's more safety nets in there, it's not just one paragraph.
Right. Got it.
That was my concern, is that there's more to it.
Understood. And to Dr. Murphy's point, if you have a specific question concerning a specific incident or individual, give him a call.
All right, no problem.
All right, thank you. Any further questions from anyone related to tonight's agenda only? Are there any items that members would like to have removed from the consent agenda? I have bear with me 1 second. No. Yes. Okay. I'll remove 7.2B. Any other members have anything that they would like to have removed? With that, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda less 7.2B. Mr. Kyler makes the motion, Ms. Weisberg with the second. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. 7.2B, do I have a motion? Ms. Fortmeyer, thank you. Mr. Scrito with the second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 6-0-1. Mr. Barshay abstains. That concludes the consent agenda. Policies, there are none on the agenda. Number 9 is Proposition 2, authorization. Dr. O'Hara, could you just tell us what this is exactly as far as the transfer concerning capital reserve fund?
Yeah, it's basically when a reserve is, the community has to vote to establish a reserve, and then the community has to vote to enable us to use the money from that reserve for the specific projects. the reserve was established for, so that's what this is.
Okay, so this will be a proposition that's on, at the time of the budget adoption?
Yes,
And it's specifically to allow the district to expend or to spend money that it's already, that it already has pursuant to the capital reserve fund.
yeah, it's been earmarked in that capital reserve for projects that are listed in this resolution, and now, so the first part is to give the community's approval to save the money, and then the second part is to give the community's approval to spend the money.
Right. And there's no tax increase associated with this, correct?
That's correct.
With that, I'll take a motion to adopt the proposition for consideration by the voters of the district at the annual meeting and budget vote to be held on April 18th, 2021. I'll make the motion. Mr. Scrito seconds. Any discussion? May 18th. What did I say? April. May 18th. My apologies. I asked that the minutes be corrected. And
Dip it back down to nine.
yes. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 7-0. Number 10 on the agenda is a resolution to adopt the legal notice for the annual meeting and budget vote to be held on May 18th, 2021. I'll make the motion. Mr. Scrito seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor?
One question, I'm sorry.
Hold the vote. Mr. Scrito?
Do we have an indication yet if it's going to be mail, or if it's going to be in person, or if it's going to be the box yet, please?
I think we do not.
Executive order has not been changed.
The executive order has not been changed, meaning that it is still mail-in until a change?
I don't think there's been any change from the governor's office.
The only reason I ask, Gene, is because won't we have to print them? The mail, well, there's a lot to mail out again.
Yeah, I mean, our advocacy group has written on this topic, but we don't have any word yet.
Just want to make sure we're prepared.
Any other questions or comments on number 10 on the agenda? All those in favor? 7-0. Discussion matters, there are none. New business. Do any board members have new business? Mr. Scrito?
Yeah, I just have a couple things. Dr. Probst, do we have any word, excuse me, on the AP test, when that's going to be given, if it's going to be in person or anything?
The AP tests in general, you're asking, or specific?
Well, I had to give my check-in the other day, so I'm just wondering if the state's going to use that.
AP exams are happening, so that's why we've been assessing fees. The College Board, who administers AP exams, has set a lengthy window for the exams this year, longer than usual. They are offering in-person and digital versions of those exams. So typical paper, pencil, and digital. We'll be offering both versions depending on the particular exam. But we are strongly, we're requiring the students come to take them in person, and that's to alleviate issues that we experienced when kids took those exams at home last year. Does that answer your question?
It does. And then Dr. Probst, if I could follow up, I was at a PTA council meeting the other night, and we're sorry to see you go, and we wish you the best as the new superintendent.
Thank you.
As far as to calm some fears, do we have a plan in place that the students will make sure they get their essays and their applications, or it's a ball, just so I know, so the parents know, please? I promised I'd ask that question.
Sure. So
I'm sorry, before you, I think we had the same exact question last week.
I believe we do, I just want to make sure.
No, it's fine. Has anything changed from last week's answer? But why don't we just reiterate it anyway? Yeah, or Dr. Probst, whomever.
Yeah, so, as, for the duration of Dr. Probst's time here and my time here, we will see to it that we put everything in place that we can by June 30th. There are going to be some things that Dr. Probst is typically responsible for that can't happen until after July 1st. So, but we'll pass on that list, and then it'll be up to whomever's next to pick up the ball.
So the intention, just to follow up on what Mr. Scrito said, the intention is that you and or Dr. Probst will give us a punch list, for lack of a better word, of the things that need to happen between Dr. Probst taking her superintendency and the hiring of the next college czar.
Yes, and not to split hairs, but I think a better list would be a to-do list.
Fair enough.
Punch list.
Yes, right. Okay, very good. So we'll have a to-do list and we'll make sure that it's all
So
covered.
Dr. O'Hara and Dr. Probst, so we can calm the fears now that parents are gonna have to write the essays for their students, right? We're gonna tell to them and all that stuff.
No parent should write their child's
Yeah, that would be
essays.
bad if they wrote it.
We don't advise that, endorse it.
Yeah.
And that was in the budget presentation that we're gonna continue to
That
have.
was in there? Yeah. Thank you. Dr. O'Hara, was a nice article in the Newsday the other day about the silver linings in remote learning. I had a couple phone calls at my work. It's nice having a public phone number. But there were some questions that, are we offering extra help via remote? Is that for all students, or was that a one-time incident that was quoted?
Well, I think the article you're talking about, where I was quoted, one part of the quote was an anecdote.
Okay.
So my guess is that there have been more than just that one teacher that said, hey, I'm available at this time if you want to jump on a Google Meet, because our teachers have been working pretty hard. The other parts of that are that Dr. Murphy and the principal, Mr. Cook, and the K-12 directors have been meeting to plan the typical Regents review schedule. Even though all of the exams may not run, we intend to offer time for students to do extra work so that we can keep them up to speed and pick up any slack that may have developed over the course of the year. So, and part of the discussion is asking if teachers are interested in offering these programs remotely in evening hours, because we think that there's a possibility it would work better for students' schedules.
The article is well written. I mean, what you said in there and what was said that was done was quite impressive. So I was just asking if something we can continue, or if it was just that's why I'm asking. It sounds great for
Yeah,
our
so,
community.
well, so the second half of it, what I'm talking about right now, has never happened before. So that's something that we're going to try this coming spring. And it depends on teachers' availability, and it depends on students' desire to log on for extra help or extra study at 6, 7, or 8 in the evening. You know, when we do things like this, oftentimes teachers would come back in person on Saturdays for, say, AP review or extra readers classes. Sometimes they would come back in the evenings and order pizza for students and really help students dig into the content. And now that everybody's become so adept at distance learning, we're thinking we may be able to get more students and more teachers to be involved. And not to use an overused term, but there could even be some sort of a hybrid model where some of the review sessions or extra work sessions are in person and some of them are via distance learning.
I just want to say I think it's a win for our school district community, reading the article and, you know, outside the box thinking that, you know, at 3 o'clock the school doesn't end. I thought that was good. So I commend all, you know, that are involved in, you know, teachers and everything like that. I also, you know, want to say that my dog loved the dog biscuits from the Hop Hog Hounds. They had they called it a pop-up drive-by sale. I can only encourage our community to keep supporting our community. We're very lucky to have the great community that we are, but I want to thank everybody involved in that. That was very well run. Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Bilski and Mrs. Abadi get the credit for that.
Sorry, Mr. Scrio, just to circle back to, one question I didn't answer was, will it be open to all students? The answer is, you know, as those things evolve, of course, because it would be modeled after what we've done in the past, which is any student who wants to avail himself or herself of the extra sessions is most welcome, and this would be the same.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Further, anyone else have any new business? Does administration have new business?
No, thank you.
So, let me just comment on one thing that Mr. Scrito mentioned concerning Dr. Probst and the items that need to get done for kids that are going off to school and applying to school. There remain here professionals in district office and throughout the district that will ensure that those kids do not suffer at all as a result of any of the changes that we have going on in the district. There will be no drop. You have my word, you have the board's word, and you have administration's word. There will be no drop whatsoever of the things that need to get done, plain and simple. And if there are, you can call us to the mat on it.
Mr. Marche?
Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt, I just want to raise one issue.
Sure.
Okay, the executive order expired, so currently the election will be in person on May 8th.
The election, that was anticlimactic. The election will be in person on May 18th.
Breaking news.
Gene,
Breaking news from Gene.
Gene, may I?
I was in the middle of my no new taxes moment.
The executive order was changed, it's expired.
Gotcha.
Gene, does that mean we do not have to print mail-ins, so I know for the extra
It
costs?
seems that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, anything, any other business from anyone?
It's not over.
I'm sorry? I'm not repeating what I said. It'll be in the minutes and it'll be on the internet, and I'm sure I'll get criticized for it. All right, so number 13 on the agenda, questions or comments from the community concerning anything related to the district whatsoever. Any questions from the community that is here? Yes, Mr. Russo?
Sale of the building, is it proceeding?
It is, well, how much can we say? It is proceeding.
You know, we anticipate
Yes.
having a fully executed contract presented to the board at its April 13th meeting.
Yes. To be clear, though, Mr. Bruzzo, and to allay any concern out there, there will be public hearings. There will be a vote through a referendum of everyone in the community to be heard on that issue, and all questions will be answered prior to that vote. We will have as many public hearings as we need. Yes?
Could I just clarify for anybody that possibly doesn't understand that the contract we're talking about is not a contract for the sale of the building? It's with the real estate company that's going to try to sell the building.
No, it's the sale.
It's the sale of the building, but the sale of the building is contingent upon the referendum passing.
Right, right.
And the
So
referendum.
nothing, what I'm saying, the contract itself doesn't finalize.
It doesn't bind anything. The community will have the
No
final.
obligation on the part of the school district
And we'll
to.
probably-
Correct.
and we'll probably have a special meeting sometime in the fall. We're looking at October, November as a possible date. So it'll be ample time for discussion, presentations, disclosure, et cetera.
Right.
Okay. Anything further from the community concerning anything related to the district whatsoever? Dr. Murphy, do we have any questions submitted virtually?
We have two questions. First question is from Mrs. Bagley. Now that school teams are able to practice and have games in the schools, I'd like to see the space being available for Hauppauge youth sports once again. When will Hauppauge youth teams be permitted to use the indoor facilities?
Dr. O'Hara?
We don't have an answer as to exactly when. We will continue to monitor, the trajectory of the virus and update the community as soon as we have a change. But presently, we don't have any change in our practices or temporary policy.
Second question?
Second question is from Mrs. Garziano. When will the fifth grade moving up ceremony and high school graduation ceremony details be finalized with dates and times?
We have tackled the prom and the junior prom, so this is next.
Yeah, I mean, the difficult we do immediately, the impossible takes a little longer. Look, I can promise the community that at the very absolute minimum, high school graduation will look the way it was last year. Some people have written or have contacted me to say that was the easy way out, but I can assure the community that for our high school administration to schedule 6 different ceremonies and be present 6 different times, and for our valedictorian, salutatorian, and other guests to give 6 different speeches or presentations is definitely not the easy way out, but it was the best way we could honor the class of 2020, and we are fully committed to honoring the class of 2021 with everything they deserve. And I'm not being evasive, but we're working on it, and as the situation evolves, we'll have more plans with all of those kinds of moving ups and commencement ceremonies.
Looks like Gene has another new breaking
On
news.
another topic.
Another breaking news?
Yes, it is.
Dad, what do you got?
So the executive order is, it's gonna be in person. The only change is that absentee
Wait, are we on the
ballots,
vote now?
that absentee ballots,
Please don't sit there.
absentee ballots may be requested, they're not automatic, but the reasons for requesting absentee ballot can include fear of getting COVID.
All right, so as she's done, since she's been here, our district clerk will make sure that everyone is fully aware of what they need to do to vote, how they can vote, and everything else that is key to the budget vote and election. And she'll seek counsel from guidance where appropriate. Anything, thank you, Jean. Anything further from,
Nope.
any other questions? I'm sorry, any questions from the community that were brought up by Jean's wisdom? With that, I'll take them. Is there any reason to go to an executive session tonight? Does anyone have anything that is appropriate for that? No? Good. With that, I'll take a motion for adjournment. I'll make the motion. Mrs. Scrigo seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 7-0. Our next meeting is April 13th, 2021, which is the budget adoption. April 13th, 2021. Thank you very much. Be safe.
No.